GoLoud.
Welcome back to the Weekly Roast. How's it going, guys? How the hell are you? How are your hearts? And of course, how are your heads? Guys, how's it going? How are you doing? How are you feeling today, wherever you are and whoever you're there with? Well, assumingly you're on your own, unless you're one of those absolute pigs that blares noise, be it mine or other people's, loud on public transport. How are you getting on? Guys, as always, forever, I will have to begin the podcast by saying thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time every single week to throw yourself into the world of the Weekly Roast and enjoy all of the madness that the people around us have to offer. Genuinely, I truly appreciate it. And with that, I have a little bit of housekeeping, okay? It's not a major announcement. It's not some of the 2 or 3 big announcements that are coming down the pipe, but it is a little mini announcement. As many of you will know, I'm the monthly columnist for Image magazine, and I do an Agony Aunt column, or Agony Uncle column rather. Anyway, I've been absolutely adoring doing it since I came back from holidays and I was doing all the travel writing. After the book, I've needed to write, and I haven't really... There's talk of book number 2, but my head isn't there yet. And I've just been rattling around trying to figure out the best vehicle to write. Okay. And after releasing the article last week on Image, I'm genuinely blown away by the response. I couldn't believe the level of support and engagement and just, appreciation people had for the work. So let me get to the chase. I am going to start what I think will be... I want to get your advice on this, and this is why I'm saying it to you, like, in this format. For a while now, basically, I've wanted to create a centralised place to write about everything I want to write about, okay? And I've been sort of hemming and hawing and going back and forth and trying to figure out what to do, but I'm just going to pull the trigger on it, okay? So if you're interested in my writing, please let me know. There's 2 ways that we could do this, okay? Option A would be that I create a Substack. For those of you that aren't familiar, Substack is just like a subscription thing where you guys would enter your email in, and then every 2 weeks you'd get a newsletter from me, all right? We could call it the Weekly Woes instead of the Weekly Roast. Do you like that, Kieran? So it could be, and that's where I could do, the reviews, the roast. I could answer your questions, your dilemmas. We could discuss relationship stuff. I could talk about being sober, all of those sort of things. That could be done via Substack, and it would just go straight into your email every 2 weeks. I also, as part of that, would like to do a monthly supplement called Good Stuff, where basically I would talk about various things that are happening around Ireland that month. I'll be honest, mostly alcohol-free stuff. But yeah, I thought that could be like a cool idea. Now, so that's option A, Substack, or option B is I do it via Patreon. I used to have a Patreon years ago, but I stopped using it. Patreon, the benefits of that are that I can also do videos, I can host Q&As. I would love to evolve this into like a culture club, particularly come January. I know we talked about it last year, but I would love us to start like a movie club / book club to get us through the winter, and Patreon is a great space for that. Ultimately, I want this to be a private place to write whatever it is that I want to write that goes directly to you, rather than putting it out there sort of more publicly, if that makes sense. So let me know if you'd be interested, and or which of those 2 options you think would be better. I'm going to be launching it in the next couple of weeks, and I'm really... To be honest, I'm hugely excited. It's something I've wanted to do for so long, but we're all, as you know, in life, we are all bound by our own weird individual contracts of routine, and sometimes it's very hard to break them and do things differently, but I'm just going to fucking go for it and not let fear get in the bloody way. So look, that's enough earnestness for today. In other news, Kieran, I'm also, by the way, my friends, as always, tucked away in my heaving chest, nestled on the shelf of my endless bust until the day his milky dreams come true. It's a beautiful baby boy, Kieran. How are we, boy?
When do I grow up from sucking on your tits?
The moment your lips become dry, my boy. Kieran, I'm gay. Did you not know? Did you not realise? I'm. By the way, dear listener, If you were following me on Instagram over the weekend, you would have realised and learned that I am gay because added to the list, take out the scroll, the ink and parchment. We need to add reasons why Mark Megan is gay. Number 7,431 is he ate a scone in a spa. I could not believe it. Guys, to give you a catch up in case you missed it on Instagram over the weekend, I had my stag, which was just incredible. I was really nervous about having a normal stag, you know, being sober and all of the rest. And my friend just put so much thought into it. I was blown away and really touched. And the guy that arranged it, he treated me to a spa treatment morning on the morning of, which was just like incredibly thoughtful and all the rest. And we were having great crack. And I posted a picture of myself in the spa because you got afternoon tea with it. So I posted a picture of like scones and a tray of like those mini sandwiches, crustless gems. And this woman just sent me a message, obviously meaning to send it to somebody else, just going, 100%, he's so gay. Good stuff. Good stuff. That is genuinely a stunningly 1990s form of homophobia. Do you know, where like any man that uses lip balm, of course, just inhales cock. Like it's just absolutely, if she thinks eating scones and wearing a robe is gay, can you imagine what she'll find out when she actually discovers what actually being gay is? She'll fall off her fucking chair. So there you have it, guys. The good, the bad, the gay and the bubbly. Now, on to hen parties where lots of people have more than a gay old time. Guys, I was absolutely flabbergasted. Oh, steady on. Brilliant. That is cruise ship entertainment levels of comedy there. I was flabbergasted at the depravity coming in with the hen party roast. So brace yourselves, strap yourselves in, and I look forward to it. It's the Roast of Hen Parties. It's great to have you with us. If you enjoy the show, as always, please send me a DM on Instagram at Megan Mark. I am an artist who solely survives off reassurance and support and encouragement. And then if you subscribe to the Patreon once we get that launched, let's go.
Just on the hen parties, we got absolutely scammed at my friend's hen party. So we organised a male stripper on the premise that he was going to be a Cristiano Ronaldo lookalike. So obviously when he arrived, he was no more Cristiano Ronaldo than the fucking man on the moon. And so we had to meet him in the car park of the venue just to go through a couple of bits, obviously beforehand. And he was like, sorry, am I getting my dick out here? And we were like, well, yeah, like that's the whole point. And he was like, oh no, it's going to be a bit more extra money. And we were like, okay, so we had to do a whip round in this car park for him to get his dick out. And yeah, it was a scam. Like we got completely scammed into thinking he was going to be Cristiano Ronaldo. He was like, bring Tevez, more like.
Don't be having a go at Tevez at the end of it. That's just like, okay, a lot to get through here. First and foremost, when you hear whip around, stripper and dick, it paints quite the picture. Doesn't it though? I just immediately imagine sort of swirling phalluses in the air like windmills. Do you know what I mean? Or like the hands of clocks in Alice in Wonderland just spinning backwards, just lots of sort of helicopter-esque penises. I mean, when you're standing in the car park and effectively bartering with the stripper so you can see his balls, you need to reevaluate the entertainment choices for the hen. Surely as a result of the negotiation, any dick showing after that, the buzz is going to be taken out of it. Do you know what I mean? So even if he does get you the right price, okay, it'll be €23 extra if you want a bit of foreskin. Grand, there you go, bang, hand over fist, you give the cash, you go inside. Has that Revolut come through yet? No, just as he's unzipping. Okay, can we just wait there? You'll have to stand outside because there's no connection. We're downstairs, in the function room. Yeah, okay, go back out. Yeah, got it there. Grand, there you go. Do I have to get my dick out? Yes, by the way. Of course that was expected of you as a stripper. That is a profoundly stupid question from the... Do I have to get my penis out? Oddly enough, yes, that is probably the second stupidest question I've ever heard in my life.
What's the first?
Oh, fair. Well, I'm glad you asked, Kieran. Let me cast your memory back to 2002. Okay? It was a Friday evening. Ireland, 2002, it was a great year. Ireland officially adopted the euro as its currency, I believe. And we also qualified for the first World Cup for the first time in 48 years, I'd say. Thereabouts, if I hadn't Googled it beforehand. Nevertheless, it was a late Friday one night. I was around 12 at the time. I was upstairs in my bedroom having a bit of a busy read of the swimwear of my mum's Dunnes Stores catalogue. Because that's what we had to do back then, wasn't it? Before we had the internet. We had to scroll through our parents' swimwear catalogues when buying swimming togs. Nevertheless, the doorbell rings. And the guards are there, okay? And my mum fucking slides down the banisters like a fucking fireman, okay, with the nerves, urgency, wondering what's gone on. And lo and behold, my sister, who'd been out at the teenage disco that night, has been brought home by the guards. And she's there on the front steps and she is absolutely paralytic drunk. Is it paralytic or paralytic?
Paralytic.
Paralytic drunk. She wasn't blind drunk, but she sort of, her eyes couldn't adjust to the daylight. Do you know what I mean? Like she had come out of the cinema during midday. My mum takes one look at her, okay? And here you are. This is the most profoundly stupid question I've ever heard in my life. Have you been drinking? I remember being like, Mum, she's in a wheelchair. The police are here. Her hair looks like a bird's nest. Do you know? She's got twigs all over her. Her socks are filled with dodder water. Of course she's been drinking. You'd get tipsy from walking into one of her burps. I want you to tell me now. Have you been drinking? Like, Mum, she's taken one of the life rings from Sandymount Strand and is wearing it as a belt. Yes, she's been drinking. She spent the last 15 minutes doing an impression of her dead granddad, except she's been using a traffic cone as a walking stick. Of course she's been drinking. And then, of course, my friends, the coup de grace of naivete. Come here and let me smell your breath. Your parents smelling your breath is to see if you've been drinking, even though you've been driven home by a member of An Garda Síochána in a fucking wheelchair, is the most absurd thing in the world. Surely the jig is up at that stage. Do you know what I mean? They come down at 2 a.m. to find you on the kitchen floor making snow angels with your granny's ashes and refilling the urn with my waddy. The smelling of the breath is utterly redundant. It's almost as blindly optimistic as me walking into my geography exam and the leaving cert and praying that maybe a few questions will come up on M&M. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those unnecessary questions in life that still gets asked even though everybody already knows the answer. It's up there with, are you here for a haircut? Or asking a middle-aged woman if she likes Adele. Do you know what I mean? The answer has never been no. Oh, I just like a bit of Adele. Yeah. Do you? Yeah. So's most of the planet, you know, yeah. Yeah, no, she reminds me of me. Does she? In what way exactly? Because you work in an office and are extremely boring. You wear runners to work, you know? You've got the crumbs of yesterday's Walker's prawn cocktail crisps across your bust. You don't have anything in... Do you usually drink with pop stars? Did you go to the Lep Inn with Elton John last Thursday? Were you in Grogan's with Stormzy recently? No. Anyway, back to my sister on the doorstep, right? So the Gardaí then calms my mum down. Because my mum obviously thought somebody had died or something. And he leans in, and I swear to God, he almost has his hand like just in front of his crotch, and he speaks to my mum in a dialect of English that can only be described as horny muck savage. And he says, oh, there's nothing to be worried about there. Oh no, she's just had a little bit too much to drink, that's all. I remember thinking, too much to drink? She's 13. Surely any amount of drink at the age of 13. Do you mean, oh, she's had a wee bit too much to drink there, you know yourself. She looks like a fucking millennium baby. Her movements are akin to beans getting poured out of a tin. Yeah, she should stay away from the spirits there, I'd say. She's 13 years of... Stay away from the spirits is something that you say to a girl from Rathmines who's gotten into yoga. Do you know what I mean? Oh, those Bacardi breeders are awful old yucks there. Coming from a guard, by the way, similar to Mary the other night, who probably thinks that every single drink that isn't a pint is a coming out party. Do you know what I mean? Like, he believes cocktails are so synonymous with homoeroticism that the little umbrellas are just there to prevent excess semen getting into your glass. Nevertheless, oh, the sugar. It's, whenever you hear this about people, whenever, like, they've been on a night out and they're like, oh yeah, the sugar and those things get you wild. The sugar and the vodka Red Bull. It's not the sugar. Stay away from the Red Bulls there. The sugar in those is lethal. It's the 17 vodkas that has gotten you wired. It's still the alcohol. It's got nothing to do with the sugar. On we go.
Hi Mark, I have a hen party story for you. From a few years ago when I was bridesmaid, my first and last time as a bridesmaid after all of this. So the bride wanted to go to the Downton Abbey experience in Mullingar. So when we got there, we had to dress up as servants with the apron and the little cap. And the first party game consisted of a chamber pot relay race. So we had to run up and down with pots of pretend piss. Now, the package also included dinner, so we sat around in our costumes eating stew. Just picture the absolute misery of a crowd of women sitting around eating stew on a hen party. So by far, the worst hen party I have ever been to, and ashamed to say I had to organise that.
Like, that is a horrendous sounding hen party. Walking around Mullingar dressed as a fucking medieval serf, eating stew and schlepping around with pretend piss is genuine torture. Like, good luck. I would have been a useless serf, I think. I mean, like, terrible serf. Downton Abbey, by the way, that whole stuff, would you be a fan?
No.
Oh, Lady Belle Corley is coming over. She's hoping to meet Lord Rimington and walk the plane. She's wondering, will he be her suitor for the upcoming spring hunt ball? No, you can't, Timothy. Like, just Tabitha's lost him. Do you know, just so profoundly boring, those shows. I can never get behind them. Now, interestingly enough with this one, she roasts the hen party, but then she throws in that she organised it herself. It's sort of, oh my God.
Hi, Mark. I was at a hen party one time in America, and the cop stripper showed up, and the bridesmaid had full-on sex out in the middle of the floor. There was a kind of a makeshifty stage thing that we were all gathered around. It was shocking, to say the least. And I suppose the worst thing about it was that there were people there that were kind of in for their Saturday couple of drinks at the bar, looking at this onslaught that was going on. Now, that's bridesmaids for you.
This is astonishing. How do you know he was a stripper, actually? And not just a complete American cop. Makeshift stage. More like make sex. Am I right, Kieran?
Yeah.
Do you like that? The worst thing about this is that, well, there's so much about this that we need to break down. You say, well, that's bridesmaids for you. No, I would say that's less bridesmaids, and that is more Floridian swamp dwellers who enjoy sex in public places for breakfast. This is like, you know, when you read and hear about Americans who go to Walmart and buy like 50 ostrich steaks because they come with a free toilet seat. This is that. This is full-blown fireworks shooting out of cargo pockets, star-spangled banner in the background, eagles soaring overhead, fist pumping, gun cocking, bull riding, freedom perceiving, liberty dreaming, respect our troops, middle of the day, fornication, God bless America, you betcha, afternoon, ma'am, levels of derangement. Like, put your ass away in the steakhouse. I'm trying to eat my biscuits and gravy. This, you know what I mean? This is the behaviour of those who wrestle alligators and share similar IQs. Do you know what I mean? How does this happen? How does it happen that somebody actually has sex in a public space and somebody doesn't immediately go, hey mate, I really appreciate that you've got the knee-high crocodile boots on and nothing else, but please use your Stetson to cover up your genitals. Like, this is bananas. And somebody else going in just for their afternoon tea or whatever and seeing somebody shot. No. Like, I don't believe it. What do you think?
Nothing's possible in America.
Anything's impossible in America. The land of the brave, home of the free, and all that slop. This is sort of something that, you know, you can imagine the type of people that would carry on like this would contain, or possess rather, more STIs than a Petri dish holding a blood sample of Joe Exotic. He's a sloppy enough character. God love him. Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic is one of those people who is such a slave to perversion that he will never be emancipated. You know, he might one day get out of jail, but he will be permanently incarcerated by the desires of his dick, and that will always lead him into trouble. I mean, that was a weird time during COVID. It was COVID had just hit, and then we were watching Joe Exotic, and this guy was a horny sex pest predator, animal cruel. Like, it was a very strange and unusual time in all of our lives. I still follow him on Facebook, Joe Montriano or whatever his real name is. And he's in jail and he's been married 17 times in the last fortnight. He is, in no uncertain terms, a derangement levels of pervert. This one's for you, Joe. Let's go.
Okay, a few years ago, my sister is getting married and I was living in Australia. And so I took on the task of organising her hen party from there, which was an absolute pain in the arse. But I did Carlo, an activity for all the girls to do, a return bus from Dublin, accommodation, meals, access to a nightclub, VIP area, blah, blah, blah.
I did little goodie bags for everyone. Like, I spent an absolute fortune organising this whole thing, but I didn't want to charge everyone loads of money. So I said to the girls, hey, would €100 each be okay? That will cover everything. And then you just have to buy your drinks. And everyone was like, yeah, obviously, amazing. And then there's one Karen in the group that then proceeded to message me with screenshots of the hotel website with the prices of the rooms, because she's done her own calculation of how many girls are going and who would be sharing. And then she's worked out that it would actually only be €75 per person for the accommodation. So what exactly was the other €25 going to? I was absolutely fuming. I'd put so much effort into organising the whole thing. And obviously €100 is not enough to cover all the shit that we're doing. But I then had to explain to her all the shit that we were doing so that she knew exactly where her €100 was going to, and so that she could decide whether she wanted to go direct with herself or actually let me book it for her. Like, absolute stingy hole. Like, full tight arse would have a fork in the sugar bowl tight.
Yeah, okay, but there's a lot of focus on her actual anus at the end there, which is too much. But, like, what do you think, Carol? I think that's shocking. Tight. There is no worse trait. I know we've done a full podcast on tight people, so go back and listen to it if you haven't heard it already. But it is the most unforgivable, because, excuse me, I think it's too forgiving to call it an illness. It's like a willful condition. They are actively deciding to be mean every day. And do they not realise that the world doesn't warm them to them as a result? It is just... What I will say is this: VIP area of a nightclub in Carlow. Bit of an oxymoron. Sort of like an honest conversation with an estate agent, do you know what I mean? Or a cost-effective chat with a builder. Or a straightforward and no-nonsense chinwag with a recruiter. We should do a roast of recruiters. But yes, this is just... the effort that the person's gone to, because at the end of the day, organised fun, the whole thing about hens and stags is that organised fun is just the worst. It is just the worst. I hate being involved in it. Nothing molests my ears or sanity like the collective giddiness that seems to manifest when you put a bunch of semi-strangers together in a room and ask them to participate in an activity. Oh my God! Whether it's an orgy or orienteering, there will always be a few people-pleasing gimps who laugh at everything the organiser says, even when it's not funny. Oh, you guys, well, you're here for axe throwing, and no, the answer is I'm not a Viking. Oh my God, can I fillet you outside? None of this is, how are you lads, welcome to Kilbruggan Ruttery House, and here today we're doing a bit of orienteering. And no, my friends, that Irish flag on a roof, that's not part of the competition. Oh my God, we're having such a great time. Shut the fuck. This is the worst. I want to go home. I don't like being outside the house for longer than 45 minutes at a time. And this is a disaster for me. The cackle, and it's not just hen parties, by the way, lest the pitchfork wielding feminists come for me. I'm a feminist, by the way, so don't even... The cackle, though, you know that noise you hear it on trains. If you ever get in the train and you have that lovely thought to yourself of, oh, it's lovely travelling by train, we should do this more often, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden you hear this cackle from down the other end of the carriage, and it is a chorus of fingernails in the blackboard, louder than Hiroshima, more painful to the ears than the sound of an angry Irish mother unstacking the dishwasher. Do you know what I mean? And as I said, of course it's not just women. The birdsong of aggressive bastard loutish men in groups on stags is equally, if not more, distressing. I hate organised fun. The last time I went to a stag that wasn't my own was my brother-in-law's, and it was like fucking paintballing. And I was like, okay lads, we can tell who the troublemakers are already. And then it was like, rule number one about paintball. Rule number one. All of a sudden everyone started shooting each other. So I had to go over to another guy who worked there and said, can you please drop me back to the campsite? Because I got afraid. I'd like to go back and drink in silence and sob into my glass and iPhone like a normal person in his latter part of his 20s. Nevertheless, that person is tight. Let's go. It's the hen party willy bum bum section. Please brace yourself, because I was not prepared, nor did I expect any of the contributions to be this wild. So hold on to your hats, and I hope you enjoy the Willy Willy Bum Bum section of Hen Parties. All I can do is play the stuff that was sent in, so please forgive me if you have a sensitive soul, spirit, mind or heart, because good God. As always, if you enjoy the show, shoot me a DM. Now, let's get into it.
The worst hen I was ever at, they hired a stripper for the hen. The stripper knocked at the door and he arrived naked, bar an apron. He then played games where he hid a plaster on his body. The girls at the hen party were blindfolded and they had to locate the plaster on his body, which generally was up somewhere near his genitalia, using only their faces, and remove it using their teeth. I actually am gagging a little bit even thinking about it. He also teabagged another one of the girls, and then one of the girls drank a shot of Prosecco out of his arse crack, and then later on in the restaurant complained she was feeling a bit sick and blamed the food in the restaurant. I personally think it was the arse Prosecco is most likely to do it. I was shook. I was absolutely shook after the hen nearly needed counselling.
Hold on a second here. You can't just jump from hiding plasters behind the kneecaps into Sarah's getting teabagged that seamlessly. That was the quickest segue I've ever heard in my life. That escalated so fast from a flirtatious stripper doing a boring game into Anya's on the receiving end of a lewd sex act, and now we're about to drink champagne out of his arse. That is... she didn't get food poisoning from the bum secco. Do you know what I mean? Secco? I don't know. There couldn't be that much bacteria in the back of a stripper's crack that would turn your stomach before dinner time. Could there be? That is... I love just so we had this game where we all had to guess what country is the sexiest. Okay, then we played sexiest accent. Okay, and then Susan got teabagged in the jacks. Sorry? And then Susan got teabagged. That was the third. And this is bananas. I've never been at a hen party, okay? And nor have I ever teabagged somebody, right? But I would, surely there's you need to warm yourself up to teabagging someone. You need to put the kettle on, as it were. Do you know what I mean? You don't just go straight. You don't drink the tea straight away. You've got to warm yourself up with a bit of kissing, a bit of foreplay. A bit of something. Not just no worries. Sorry, Susan, hold that thought. So wait, you got a timeshare in Portugal. Great, just 1 second. I'm just going to go over, open the bullock, or open the veil and bail rather, and teabag this. Yeah, no worries. Also, surely there's absolutely no enjoyment in being teabagged.
On either end, though.
Well, yeah, the ball.
The receiver or the giver.
Thank you, Kieran. Balls in general, utterly miscellaneous for me.
Kind of vital.
Vital for life, for sure. But sexually, I don't want my balls touched. You're not. He's hanging me out to dry, my boy. Back to the breasts with you, bosom boy. On we go. No, sorry, not on we go. This is just in we go, out we go. I am shocked. I also just find, and I will be honest, guys, anything stripper related, anything, I just don't. Hey, I was at a stag party where, it was again the year before COVID, and there were strippers there, and this woman walking by, and it's like, "Hey, big boy, are you horny?" Of course, I'm not horny. Of course, absolutely not. Of course, I'm sandwiched between a guy I haven't seen since secondary school and the groom's Uncle Phelim, who smells like watermelon vapes, and the despair of a man who subscribed to several OnlyFans accounts at once. Do you know what I mean? In terms of things that aren't erotic, this would be up there with an unsedated root canal or witnessing the family dog run across the M50. There's just... Rufus! But once there's a transaction involved, the horniness disappears from me. Oh, do you see anything you like? Yes, the exit sign, because I'm awkward. I'm socially awkward, and this prescribed and paid for perversion is something I'm allergic to. Hey, yo, sweetness, are you looking at my ass? I thought you were from Drumcondra. Watch your mouth now, player, honey. You got to make it rain if you're going to take my son away like that. I recognise you from DIT. Also, the names strippers have just takes all the horniness away from me as well. And next up, we got these two girls, and they're the best of friends. On the left, we've got Jennifer Needs a Hunk Maniston. Brilliant. And right beside her, we've got Courtney Cocks Up Your Arse. Brilliant. Courtney Cocks Up Your Arse. Who had the A4 pads out thinking of that one, do you know? I just don't. There was nipples there was tassels on the nipples that I was at, when I was at. Nipple tassels aren't sexy. They look ridiculous. You're sitting in a dimly lit room with the dimly lit groom, vaguely getting aroused. It's just aroused by a woman wearing a bikini that would make a fucking mannequin blush. You can't be having a glass of Prosecco out of a stripper's ass and then blaming the prawn cocktail in the restaurant for your stomach sickness. You just can't. Also, I will say this, and I'll finish on this. There is no amount of dry ice, seductive R&B music, or the collective primitive horn of a group of men at a social gathering that will override the simple fact of an arse in your face is still an arse in your face. Do you know what I mean? Pop culture and music videos and Brazil can do what they want to change the perception of arses by humanity. But no matter what, at the end of the day, a stranger face planting at buttocks is torture chamber stuff. Do you know what I mean? Especially if they've spent the last 30 minutes dancing, sweating and generally exerting themselves. On we go.
So I was on my sister's hen, and on the hen I was sharing a room with this particular girl that I didn't know, and she won a vibrator on the night at the hen. I got home to the room ahead of her. Then during the night I woke up to this weird buzzing sound. And I kind of went way back to sleep. I didn't think too much of it, but I woke again to this buzzing sound and I was trying to figure out what was going on, the pitch black. I went way back to sleep again, and then I woke up again and I said, "Hey, come here. What's going on over there?" And I figured out after a fourth or fifth time waking up that she was using a vibrator, the vibrator she won on herself.
No.
I was paralyzed in fear what was going on. But when I woke up the next day, because it went on for hours, Mark, hours, I was in shock. Who actually does that genuinely when you're sharing a room with a total and utter stranger? And she was a total utter, I've never met her before in my life. Like, who would do that? But I at the time I thought, who would bring a vibrator away on a hen? But it's the girls pointed out in the morning that she won the vibrator. But it wasn't a big vibrator, it was one of those little dinky ones. Which makes it worse. But yeah, anyway, it's one of those things I'll never forget.
Okay, the little... Hold on a second here. The fact that it was a little dinky one, that doesn't make it worse. If it was a fucking 16-incher and she was on all fours, like she's given birth, that would be 50 times worse. Like, there's so much wrong here. Trying out the vibrator that you've won in a competition before the hen party is even over is, dare I say, the vaginal equivalent of finishing all of your popcorn before the movie starts in the cinema. Do you know what I mean? Just wait till you get home. Exercise a bit of restraint. Sounds like Roy Keane. Exercise a bit of restraint. Run your forefingers under ice cold water. No, but you know what I mean? You couldn't be that horny. If you're that horny, in that scenario, if you've got yourself the dinky little vibrator, okay? And you're that horny, dip the edge of your pillowcase in a glass of cold Ballygown and rub it across your forehead. Do anything. Sleep in the bath with the cold water dripping onto your toes. No matter what, don't start penetrating yourself with a freshly purchased plastic novelty dinky dildo. Do you know what I mean? Not really designed for public consumption. Like, this is just... The girl in the bed, though, a little bit naive. The buzzing going on for hours whilst the groaning. I don't think you usually get hornets in Mullingar, do you? Is that a wasp? Is that one of them Vuvuzela mosquitoes? Or is it a hornet? No, it's Horny Harriet, the one she used to play hockey with. She's got a really thirsty mensch. Like, this is... I just don't think... At least wait till you're back in your own bedroom before you start stoking the fire. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is... Derangement. No, you can't. Let's go.
Right, okay, so we're away on the hen weekend and we're in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and it was meant to be a really quiet hen because the bride is like, you know, she's very quiet, she wasn't really into drinking, right, yeah, that, or so we thought. Anyway, we're on the hot tub, like they had a hot tub out the back, so we're on the hot tub, just about maybe 5 or 6 of us, and then there's a few just sitting around, and the bride was sitting beside her sister-in-law. And all we could see was the sister-in-law's hand, and the bride was kind of smirking. And I had to take, like, I want to say a second look, third look, fourth look. I was like, is this actually happening? Yeah, and there she was, literally giving it socks. Like, just finger blasting her all the way. Yeah, so we all got up the next morning, and the bride was like, oh my god, it was such a quiet night, wasn't it? Like, we're like, yeah, sure it was, bet. But yeah, they all got married anyway. I don't, there's no words for it. Like, I've never been on a hen where the bride gets fingered by the sister-in-law and then just pretends it doesn't happen.
I don't think anybody's ever been on a hen where the bride gets finger blasted by the sister-in-law, but you seem to say I think I've never been on a hen where the bride gets finger blasted by the sister-in-law and then don't admit it afterwards or pretends like nothing happened. That's comfortably one of the most insane stories I've ever heard in my life. I mean, true or false? Listener, what do you think? Do you think that could actually have happened? I really don't. I cannot fathom 6 people sitting in a hot tub and, you know, if the bubbles turn off and then you have to do that awkward thing, like, you know, when you're in a jacuzzi in a hot tub and then do you ever get that? You're in a jacuzzi in like a leisure centre of a hotel and then you're like, you know, there's just there's always like a Russian man by himself and he's just sitting there and he's definitely been there for like 7 hours. And you're like, bro, this isn't good for the ticker. You know, you need to get out of here. But you know, when the bubbles go off and then you have to sort of just like look at the person and go, do you want me to? When you just point to the button, will I go again? And it's a weird moment because then anyway, you did not witness the sister-in-law getting, and also finger blasted. Are you Mark Megan, age 12, like terminology? Finger blasting. I just can't. Let's go.
We were on a hen party in Westport recently. You know, we're a bit older now, so it was much more tame. And I went into the bathroom at one stage and one of the younger hens was in there and she looked like she'd been sick. She had kind of stuff all over her face. I started cleaning her up, only to find out the next day that herself and another one of the hens had given each other a lick out in the bathroom. Not lesbians or anything like that, just weren't having any crack with any lads there, so decided to have the crack with themselves.
No. There are other ways to cure boredom. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are other... Back in the 90s, we'd usually opt for a game of tip to can, do you know? Or a game of curbs. Maybe, though, if we knew then what lickouts were, we would have tried to have gone down that route. I mean, they weren't really... That's how they were having the crack. They weren't really having the cracks. They were having the flaps. Brilliant. Fair play. What I ultimately want to know is... I can't believe I'm about to say this, but when she says she had stuff all over her face, what the fuck does that mean? That's heinous. Fancy a game of darts? Nah. Snooker? Nah, not for me. What about a game of one of those slot machines? No. What about a game of my slip machine? This is, you know, this is the most perverted. She looked like she had been sick. No, she didn't, like... No, she didn't. And also, where was the other girl? And like, a couple of the young hens just disappeared. Kids these days, with their Snapchat and their vapes and their TikTok and their lickouts. You know, that's just the game. That's the way. The couple of the young hens, I don't believe that could have happened. And also, like, the mother hen, the mother goose coming in, and I was wiping up her face. You weren't. Like, why was she... No. Are you bored? Do you fancy? Let's go. Here we are at the final part of the show. Final section of the hen party roast. If you're enjoying it, send it to a hen. Send it to somebody you've been in a hen with. Word of mouth is what helps us the most with the show. So I really, really do appreciate everybody who shares it with their mates. On y va.
Love the podcast. Be waiting for it every week. Keeps me going. Yeah, so the passive aggressive text that gets sent into a WhatsApp group for the hen party when someone hasn't paid the balance, like, so the original text goes in and it's like 300-400 euro for 2 nights in Carrick-on-Shannon or something, the usual crap. And the whoever pays or whatever. And like a couple of weeks later, the message goes in and it's like, thank you so much to all the lovely people who have already paid the deposit or paid the balance. Like, really appreciate you. And then the message that comes back and it's like, to all the people who haven't, here's the link again. I've just clicked in and tried to pay myself, so it's definitely working. So please try again. And then a couple of weeks later, anyone else who hasn't paid comes back. Not naming any names, but anyone who hasn't paid, it's like the link is definitely working. Like, I've been on again and it's definitely working and nobody else has had any trouble paying. And then all the ones that have paid just jumping on the bandwagon with a little like silent thumbs up to the message sent in. The shame.
The silent thumbs up is the quietest form of aggression in 2024. When you send someone a message and they just give it a thumbs up, they don't even acknowledge your message. That for me is just like king of ignorance. The passive aggressive messages in groups are people really just their ego just runs completely riot if they've been given the keys to the kingdom by way of, organising a WhatsApp or setting up a WhatsApp group. And particularly whenever they do that, hey guys, just obviously the hen is only a year away, so we really need to start collecting those deposits of $2,500. I know there's only 4 of us in this group now. 3 people have paid, so I'm not going to name anybody. Just I wouldn't want to embarrass them, and I understand that people are busy, even though they've been online all day and they're actually blue ticking all of the messages. But listen, I don't want to name and shame, so if everybody could just try and get me the money by the end of next week, because that will just help me secure the first 3 hotels in Rio de Janeiro for Sarah from Portlaois's 6-week hen in the summer of 2029. Thanks a million.
Hi, Mark. Yes, a couple of years ago, I attended a hen and we had to draw a nude guy. And anyway, it turned out that one of the girls who was attending the hen actually knew this particular guy. So it was very embarrassing, as you can imagine. But it was not enjoyable at all. It was actually mortifying, particularly the realization of that somebody knew him in a work capacity. So anyway, I'll leave that to your own imagination. But anyway, good luck with the podcast.
Thank you very much. Finally, a bit of penis content. We've had a surprising lack of willies in a podcast about hen parties. Okay, I think one thing's for sure. You have to be very careful about who you show your willy to. Am I right, Kieran?
Yeah.
It's a lesson we should all never take for granted. I mean, I could tell you, I'm sure I've told you before, when I was 14, I've like PTSD from the first time I ever showed somebody my willy.
No.
Yeah. So those of you who've been to one of my live shows, you'll know about the infamous story of whenever I received my first ever hand job at 14 years of age, outside a free gaff in the bushes from a girl named Fuincha. Now, the part of the story that you don't know is that in the few weeks after the event, Fuincha turned on me and she betrayed me. And she told every single person in the Dunleary Rathdown catchment area that I wasn't exactly packing it in the penis department. Okay? The gossip turned to rumours, and the rumours turned to gospel, and all of a sudden, all anybody could talk about was how small Mark Megan's willy is. Okay? I remember for about 2 weeks praying that Shane O'Keefe would suffer one of his world famous asthma attacks in PE and have to get rushed to hospital just so there'd be something else to talk about. Do you know what I mean? And to make matters worse, by the way, if anyone's had a rumour gone around them in the school era, in 2 weeks' time, it was the biggest event on the social calendar for any 14-year-old kid in Dublin. Up there with your balls dropping or discovering Google Chrome's incognito mode. It was the annual Christmas disco in Old Wesley Rugby Club. I think they called it like the Jingle Ball or the Snowball or something like that, Anyway, the Jingle Ball was, as a 14-year-old, for those of you unfamiliar, this was like your prime time opportunity to score, shift, feek, wear, whatever, members of the opposite sex. It could be the greatest night of your life. You know, you'd go in a complete frigid and come out a connoisseur of all things sex. You could squeeze 10 years of sexual awakenings into about 2 hours and 45 minutes. You could go in having never smoked a cigarette in your life and come out after chaining 54 Rothmans for the previous hour in that smoking area. So anyway, I was like, I'm going to go to this disco and it's going to be the end of it. I'm going to nail it, okay? I'm going to win back the sort of favour of everybody and we'll get over these rumours. I walk in towards the disco with my head held high. I've got like 2 tubs of Brill cream in my hair. I get about as far as the cloakroom on the way in and all of a sudden I just hear, Migo. I was like, oh no, it's Michael Bailey. Michael Bailey is one of the cool guys, do you know what I mean? Heard you got a small dick. Oh God. Everybody, there was like a crowd forming. Everybody was laughing at me. Hey, Megan, heard you got a small dick. Heard your dick is smaller than Kevin the Coward and the Aldi ads. Do you know what I mean? I remember just like sitting there going, hold on. I'm 14 years of age. Of course my dick is small. How big is my dick supposed to be? Do you know what I mean? Like, how big is my dick supposed to be? And since when is Fuincha, by the way, who's built like the Dunleary fucking library, the chief dick critic of South County Dublin? She looks like the pigeon lady from Home Alone 2. This is absolutely derangement. Since when is she the chancellor of dicks? But no, Fuincha had spoken and the people had listened and she was just sitting there watching this unfold, wearing 2 left Ugg boots and a pair of her brother's Canterbury's. Do you know what I mean? Retelling the story to everybody about how my willy had apparently looked like the burst end of a balloon, do you know? Or like a white chocolate finger. And everybody was lapping it up. She was loving it because this was her ticket to popularity. And that's what being 14 in Ireland was like. You just had to take your chance. Do you know what I mean? And at one point she caught my eye and looked at me almost apologetically, but gave me a wink as if to say, I took my chance, baby, and I ran with it. Catch you on the way down. That's the game, loser. Anyway, I had to go into like the loser part of the disco with the 2 biggest nerds in my year. You know, those like, and not to have a go at the nerds, but just to give you an example of how bad things gotten. One of them had a runny nose from the age of 7 until his 21st. He wore glasses, but still had 2 of those like dinosaur eye patches underneath his glasses. And then the other guy regularly asked people what their superpower was. And he did that run with the 2 arms behind the back in the yard. You know that? That's a freak run. It's the complete, he had like a Pikachu jumper and he'd make the noise as he run. He'd go, psh, like that. So that was the end of it. It was the worst night it was genuinely the worst night of my teenage life. And just when I'm like thinking, will I whip out the Nokia 33? That's the only thing I was whipping out. Just when I was thinking, will I whip out the Nokia 3310 and text my mum and see if she can collect me in the garage across the road? The DJ comes on the microphone. And he finishes up with, I think it was Robbie Williams' Angels. And just before he butchers the intro of Mambo Number 5 with Lou Bega, he decides to make an announcement. All right, ladies. You know the way those teenage discos guys you speak. All right, you ladies and gents. Just a reminder, we'll be back on St. Stephen's Day for our Boxing Day bumper disco. So a little reminder to all you girls and boys to come on down and get even with Stevens. What does that even mean? Do you know what I mean? This next song goes out to a very special lady. Her name is Fuincha. She's the belle of our Christmas ball. Speaking of balls, by the way, I hope she'll be leaving carrots out for Santa Claus this year because she's used to holding something much smaller. Not naming any names. Marky Mark, Megan, Way, Willy, Winky, Whoa. Hold on a second here. How do you know about my small dick? You're 43, Graham. You're a full-time fucking milkman. This is absolute madness. Do you know, you've got a tattoo of your daughter's birthday on your right fist and a topless mermaid on the other. How are you judging anybody? This is just... You only got this job because you were deemed too much of a criminal to operate the Magic Mouse ride in Funderland. Why'd you have mistletoe on your belt? Nevertheless, be careful who you show your dick to, my boy. Whatever.
So the thing that I absolutely hate about hen parties is the organised fun, especially cocktail making classes. So recently a friend of mine got married, and for her hen party, each of her bridesmaids, she had 4, was in charge of an element of the hen party. One was in charge of the hotel, one was in charge of the food, one was in charge of the party bags, and one was in charge of the activity. So the activity that was chosen was a cocktail making class. The bride had spent her entire life living in a pub. She spent her entire life working behind a bar, pouring drinks for everybody else. And then this was her fun activity on a hen party. Just read the room.
Yeah, I love this. Kieran, I've got a thesis theory. Would you like to hear it?
Hit me.
Cocktails are for people without personalities. Yeah. That's a hill I'm willing. Oh, would you like a cotton candy dream or a sugar plum fairy? You're just drinking liquidized sweets, Elizabeth. Do you know what I mean? This illusion that, oh, I love a cocktail. Do you? Why not just run to your nearest Geno's and face plant some sort of crepe, cross-dressing as a waffle, smothered in toffee nut butterscotch buttery bum sauce? Like, this is just, you don't, oh, I love a few cocky teas. You're going to be an amputee from the diabetes if you keep slurping down purple flavoured cocky teas on Tinder dates at 33. You just like the sugar. Cocktails are for boring women in the same way that coffee is for boring men. And that's the hill that I'm willing to die on. Okay? Boring men become interested in coffee and boring women become interested in cocktails. Oh, I actually love you know what? I love a margarita on the rocks. The only thing on the rocks is your marriage, Martina. Do you know what I mean? And secondly, martinis don't come on the rocks, Martina. I'm really in the mood for an old fashioned. You're in the mood to post a picture of the old fashioned. Let's not lie. An old fashioned tastes like WD-40 with an aftertaste of placenta. It's a gluey, sticky, dry glass of Italian death, and let that be the end of it. If cocktail classes... it's like cocktail making kits. Oh, I didn't know what you get for Christmas, so I got you a cocktail making kit. Yeah, you don't know me. You don't know anything about me, and you've decided let's go for the lowest common denominator, boring ass gift. It's like getting a man a hip flask or a Peaky Blinders box set. You know, if cocktail making classes were a clothing brand, they'd be Gin Plus Coffee. Do you know? That's a hill I'm willing to die on as well. And because as we all know, by the way, Gin Plus Coffee clothing is to wear that is to give up. It's to throw in the towel of having a personality. It is to swim knowingly into the lukewarm waters of mundanity and not give a goddamn damn that you've just lost sight of the shore. It is to paddle into the sunset of oblivion, obliviously living in a way that delivers no colour or joy. Basically, if cocktail classes were a meal, they would be a skinless chicken breast with brown rice and boiled broccoli. Enough to stay alive, but not nearly enough to satisfy. People who buy Gin Plus Coffee clothing strike me as the type of couples who go to barbecues and make a really big deal about bringing Mairead's homemade top secret Mary Rose burger sauce. We all know it's just ketchup and mayonnaise with a bit of Tabasco. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I couldn't tell you what's in it. I'd have to shoot you. You're not Marie Curie for picking the two most obvious condiments and putting them in a fucking salad bowl and calling it special sauce. Do you know? They're the sort of people who will always be happy to get behind an ole, ole, ole chant. Or they think Mexican waves are mental. You know those people that are like, there it is, it's starting, it's coming around. Wait, not now, Simon, not now, wait. Oh my God, that was a bit, do you know those people? Fucking bad. Okay, here, let's go.
So, Mark, at 48 years of age, I've been to a fair few feckin' hens, I can tell you, and to be honest, they bored the bollocks off me in general. But the part that really, really bores the vagina off me is when not the best man, what's it called? The other one, the female version of the chief bridesmaid, the bridesmaid, comes out with the Mr. and Mrs. quiz. Oh, guess what Porrig's favourite part of Karen's body is? Like, honestly, who gives a fiddler's F? Like, seriously, that's when everybody really starts to get drunk, because they start talking about Karen and Porrig's favourite movie, and like, really, who cares? Who cares? Hens are an absolute dose, to be honest with you.
Very interesting science interruption here. At the beginning she says aboard the bollocks offer, and then she says aboard the vagina offer. So in the space of 30 seconds we have some sort of genital hybrid scenario going on, you know, where she's lost both the minge and the testicles in what can only be described as a colossal loss for your genitals across the board. You've been completely decimated in your undercarriage. Now, let's be honest, Being a male comedian and commenting on a body that belongs to anybody else other than myself is riskier than a barefoot game of hopscotch in northwestern Cambodia. So that's all I'll say about that. The Mr. and Mrs. stuff, cringe. That's the game. It's cringe. Oh, what's the one thing that he does that really annoys you? Would you like to answer this truthfully or in a cutesy way? Do you know? Because the cutesy answer, of course, is, well, she's really bad at Google Maps on holidays. And sometimes she gives me too many kisses in the morning. That's so cutesy. The real answer is the passive aggressiveness. The inability to accept blame and conflict. The weird bringing up of the ex every time you drive through the estate that he lives in. And the fucking mother-in-law. The comments. The grating, insidious comments about my body shape. That's the stuff that we should... Do you know what I mean? If people were honest, that would be hilarious. If people were actually... If we got a video from all of the friends and family and it was like, what's the one thing that drives you mental about the bride? That would be so much better than, oh, he eats spaghetti bolognese and slurps his sauce afterwards. Do you know? Okay. Good luck. God bless. Goodbye. Good stuff. Thank you so much for listening to the Weekly Roast. I am in love with this job and I'm so happy to be able to do it every week. It's all thanks to you. So I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening to the show each week. As always, I'm very grateful for my trusty milk boy, Kieran, beside me for keeping the wheels in motion and the show on the road. Genuinely though, thank you so much. If you enjoyed today's show, shoot me a message on Instagram @MeganMark. I would really love to hear what you think about the writing. So if you're interested, send me a message about that and I will get that going in the next week or so. I'm just really excited about it. As I said, there's a couple of things coming up in the next 8 weeks or so that are just phenomenal, and it's genuinely all coming as a result of you guys listening to the Weekly Roast every week. So I'm enormously grateful. I'm sorry for labouring on that, but you don't realise how it feels driving in here every Monday morning. Is just, I feel a lightness and a joy that I never knew possible. So thank you. Okay, that's the end. Before we all get sick, let's go to one large collective hot tub in the sky and finger blast ourselves into oblivion, or our sisters-in-law, as it were. Goodbye. I'll see you soon.